and he wouldn't let me give up. Y'all know I had to say that because that is so true. He wouldn't let me give up. He just kept me through it all. He just, even when I was feeling like I didn't want to pull myself through, when you realize at the end of the day that you're still here, it wasn't you. It was God all along. So I just truly, y'all know me, I'm just always say I truly thank God for keeping me through it all. I thank God for his grace and mercy. I just thank God. Sometimes you say you can't thank God enough. You really
That's right.
can't. You can't
Can't.
thank God enough. All you can just do is say it every single day.
Amen.
I don't wait for those times of when I'm feeling bad or I need prayer right away. I do it every single day because I know what I need in my life, and that's God. And that's who I lean on every day. I lean on God,
That's right.
So I just want to say, I know a while back, I was sharing with you all about my health condition, and I haven't shared it live on Facebook or with a lot of people, but I talk about it on the radio show because our show is about inspiring others. It's about lifting others up and how we can encourage one another through what we go through. So you all know that I got sick back in the end of March. First, it started off with a severe, the end of February, severe bronchitis that lingered on the whole month of March. The end of March, still with the bronchitis, I end up having these really bad cramps that sent me to the ER. From that, I had a blood issue, and the blood issue was severe. And April, I forget what day it was, the day before Easter, my husband found me unconscious in the bedroom. So come to find out, it's a major blood issue. I didn't have insurance because insurance was just too much. They wanted me to pay $754 a month. I could not afford that. Just simple as that.
That's a lot of money.
It is a
Yes,
lot
it
of money.
is.
So my husband went back to work part time just as an associate, so he could just bring a little extra in so we can pay for health insurance. At the end of his first day of work, they asked him to be an assistant manager. So y'all know I'm gonna go in, but y'all know how God is. You know how God is. He's amazing.
Yes.
And he's the God that can make anything that we think is impossible possible.
Yes.
He changed everything. So, excuse me, at the end of the day, Corey was asked to be an assistant manager. And with that, all benefits came. So he ended up having health insurance. So we got medical coverage the first day of work.
Praise God.
What more can you, why am I always so excited? Because I know what God has done for me. I know what he has done for my family. I know what he has done in my marriage. I just know how he had changed things to make it better for us, how he has just lift us up and, just give us that moment to just keep on going and share with us. Because God don't want us to keep what he has done for us to ourselves. He want people to know what he's capable of
Yes, he
doing,
does.
how he could change things, how he made situations better than he will blow our mind. Let me just say that. And for some that don't believe, he will blow your mind. He really would. So I just thank God for my husband, one, for saying, you know what, my wife need help now. Let me go back to work so we can make some extra money so she could get health coverage to, get this condition fixed. Though it took some months, I was able to go to the doctor after insurance kicked in and everything. So last month they found out it was about the size of my hand with my fingers out going like in a straight out. Let me just say that. It is a huge polyp. And the polyp is what's causing that blood issues. So for months, I just been really just drained. My iron has been low, blood, everything just been like low. So I've been fighting every day, just leaning on God, trusting God through it. I turned down a few blood transfusions because I wanted to believe God. I wanted to trust God in my process. I wanted to trust God through what I was going through. And here I am today. I have surgery on October the 18th, so I'm excited about transitioning back to that energy that, as my daughter called me, that social butterfly, so that's what she called me, the social butterfly. Sometimes she'd see me around the house, Mom, I need you to pick back up and keep doing what you would normally do. Though sometimes it was hard because I was weak. I didn't have that energy and strength that I would normally have, but I would just always fight my way through. So I just had to share that. And after the surgery, October 18th, I'll come back and I'll share about all of that and how Edwina is getting herself back together, because we always talk about how important it is to take care of self. Some things are unforeseen, some things happen that we don't know, but you have a choice. Take care of it. Get help the best way you know how. So that's my moment for this morning. And don't forget the 4th annual Caregivers Recognition Black Tie Gala, November the 11th in Hampton, Virginia. Hey, come dressed to impress. It's about us, and it's for caregivers by caregivers, because we are caregivers ourselves. That's November the 11th in Hampton, Virginia. Go to our website, www.kellyschoiceinc.org, and submit your information. No honoree is not a nomination. We don't do nominations when it comes to caregivers, because I don't feel like caregivers should compete against each other. Right. So I don't do nominations. All honorees that we have submitted, we honor all of them. And it's free on Kelly's Choice. But we do ask you, make sure you don't come along. Bring your family members or husband or spouse or friend or whoever you could bring along with you to enjoy this amazing moment with you. And that's what I want to say about the Caregivers event. We have a call on the line?
Yes, we have a call on the line.
Okay. Hello, caller.
Yes, this is Kalisha.
Hello, Kalisha. How are you? Kalisha,
I'm well.
Kalisha is a caregiver. She has a event coming up this Saturday, and I wanted her to share, because it's for autism. And you know how we are, caregivers, and for the special needs and the disabled and all of that. So we're going to give her a moment to share about her event. Go ahead, Kalisha. Thank you for calling in.
No problem. I'm glad I was able to call in. Tomorrow I will be doing my 3rd annual Awesomely Autistic Art Show. It will be held at the Newsom House Museum, 2803 Oak Avenue in Newport News. The historical Newsom House Museum and Cultural Arts Center. This is the 3rd year we've done it there. All of our artists are autistic. They're on the spectrum disorder. Wow. So one way or another, whether they're on a lower functioning level or a higher functioning level, they all deal with the disorder that we call autism. It's going to be a great event. We have 11 artists coming out this year displaying their art. We have some performances. All of the individuals are special needs individuals. So this is a time for them to shine. They're going to receive some awards. They're going to receive lots of food, a lot of recognition for just showing their unique abilities.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's always good when you're giving back to the community and, sharing what you do, because she wake up with this every day. Her son has autism. So to be able to do something in the community for that is phenomenal. And what she's doing is different. That's totally different. So if anybody out there in a local area, look, we always say, even if you're far away, hey, we always welcome you as well. You never know what you're going to get from just experiencing something away from where you are. So you far away, come on and join us. Hampton Roads got some things going on. So thank you, Kalisha.
It's going to be people coming from. It's going to be people coming from New Jersey. I have a body artist coming from New Jersey. I have a young lady coming from Maryland. So it's not no exact destination of where they're coming from. It's a blessing for me to have people that want to be a part of the event that's founded on Instagram. So I'm just blessed. God has been very, very good to me. The devil is trying to keep me down today, but I intend on fighting.
You know how that is. When you're doing something good, he's going to attack you. It's just a matter of you staying, holding up, and can continue to press on. So
that's right.
As long as you keep doing that, you got this, girl. It's already a win.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, I am. I did. I had a real big hit this morning. I mean, literally, that really affects me, getting the girl from New Jersey, and I had to take a breath and I had to take a moment. I deal with fibromyalgia as well, so I've had a very, very bad flare-up. I had a bad flare-up the weekend. So just to kind of, to have a flare-up 6 days before, like, one of the biggest events for my organization, and then dealing with the financial issue that hit me this morning, I had to just take a moment. I said, you know what, Lord? I know I'm doing right, because it's just the harder it takes for you to get to something, the harder you have to work, that means it's meant for you. So I'm
right.
just thankful. I'm excited for tomorrow, and I'm ready to go. I mean, I've been on a journey all my life, so I can't let what happens today keep me down. You know, I have a 15-year-old sitting right here with me, so I have to let her know. And it's so funny. The lady was just talking about the polyp. My daughter is having issues with her blood. This morning, she didn't get her sports physical. The doctor didn't give her clear to play sports because her hemoglobin is so low. So, you know, just thinking, and I had to tell her this morning, you know, she wants to run track, and I told her it's so hard for you to get to the things that you're meant to get to. That means you got to work harder.
That's
so
right.
It's meant for you. So I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I'm thankful to receive the Caregiver of the Year award. I'm still honored just to receive that and just the recognition, you know, for what I've been doing. Because, you know, I don't look for people to see it. I just do it because I feel like that's my purpose. That's what God has me here for.
Right. Well, we thank you. We appreciate you coming on and sharing with the listeners about your event. And I'll make sure I post it on, share it with me on my page as well, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for letting me be on today.
Absolutely. Have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so wasn't that phenomenal, you know? It's always great to hear good news. There's so much negative stuff going around in the world.
Yes.
It's always a blessing to be able to bring somebody on that
Yes.
can share something great. And seeing that's why I've been sharing on the radio about my condition, because you just never know what people are going through. Nobody really know what I've been going through because I really don't share it like that.
You don't.
I don't.
Yes.
And I just
And
continue
you don't
to
show
press
it. You're so bubbly. God is so good.
And I have to, that's why I give him all the praise and
Yes.
the glory. I do. Well, we have an exciting show today. I'm so excited about this moment. I've been following this young lady for a while now. A couple years, actually. A couple
Yes.
years I've been following her. I think it was since 2014, maybe.
Yes.
And so I decided, I said, let me reach out to her and see if she would like to come on our show and share her journey, because a few years ago she was caring for her dad and going into the nursing homes and everything, and now it's her mom. So I'm like, yeah, let's just share this journey, because you really never know what's behind everything. So we're going to allow her to share who she is, tell us who she is, a little bit about her, and then go into her story and her journey about being a caregiver. Without further ado, help us welcome no other than Sabrina Brown. Hello, Sabrina.
Hello, my sister. Thank you so much for having me on, Edwina, and thank you, Corey. It's an honor to be here to share the goodness of the Lord and just life experiences.
Yes. So, Sabrina, okay, I'm going to take the blame for this, because I always take the blame when it's me. I don't have her bio in front of me, you all, so I'm going to let her share, introduce herself that way first, okay? All right, Sabrina.
Well, that's always an option. Well, I grew up in Norfolk.
Okay.
Grew up in Towerwater Park, housing project area. Have some fond memories of growing up in Towerwater Park. Went to Ruffner, went to Towerwater Park Elementary, of course. Went to Ruffner, went to Booker T, and graduated from Virginia Wesleyan College. Initially went to ODU, but finished up at Virginia Wesleyan. I worked for the government. I worked for the U.S. Postal Service, been there for 34 years. And I'm a member of Calvary Revival Church since 1997. And that's basically it. I'm pretty spontaneous. So, yeah.
Well, listen, it's pretty spontaneous. Okay, how do we take that? Where do we go with that?
Well, I'm open. I'm open to all things adventurous and good.
That's awesome. I'm so spontaneous. Just got to pick up a little bit more than what where I was before. So anyway, so Sabrina, let's talk about your journey. Share with us about your journey. Let's start with your dad. Let's just start with your dad and how this took place.
Well, as I shared with you in the conversation, my dad was an absentee father.
Okay, so I guess I should have asked, how did you reconnect?
Right,
with
we
your dad?
reconnected.
Okay.
He was an absentee father. I'm grateful that my mom never really had anything negative. I mean, she was honest, but to say about him, she didn't bash him. So that helped to help us to be open, to reconnect him with him. We had no negative memories or pictures in our head of him. So what happened was a friend of mine actually shared with me that I should get to know my dad. And I was like, I have no need or interest in getting to know my dad. My mother has fulfilled those needs. But shortly thereafter, my sister contacted us and told us that she found him.
Wow.
Yes, and it was so easy because I thought she used some search agency or maybe got a detective involved, but she just Googled him.
Wow.
And with a name like Willie Brown, a very common name, even though we last knew he was in Kansas, he was still there, but there could be so many Willie Browns. And she looked him up, and the first person she called was him. She basically asked him, I'm looking for Willie Brown, who had 3 children and named our names and was married to our mother. And it was him. So that's how we reconnected. Kim shared his information with us, and he called me.
That's awesome. Can you share a little bit about how that conversation took off?
Yes, I can. When he initially called, the first thing he said, now, we're in our 30s, we're grown, we're not young children. But we had met him, I'll go back a little bit. We had met him once before he had visited Tidewater Park to see us. And I was around 12. Okay. So I do remember his visit. I do remember cooking for him, under my mom's, of course, guidance with me cooking. And I remember him saying that he would return. That would not be the last time that he was going to reconnect with us, but he didn't. So my sister found him. He called me, and it was so funny because he sounded so perky. And he said, Brina, this is Dad. And I was like, oh, my gosh, are you kidding me? This is Dad? I don't even know that title, because I hadn't called anyone Dad. My mother wasn't married to my stepfather at that point. He said, this is Dad. And we just talked in general. But I was honest with him and forthright, and I said, I'm not comfortable calling you Dad right now because that comes with relationship. I know you are my father, my biological father, but I'm not comfortable with calling you Dad. And he was so cool. He said, that's okay. I'm okay with that. He understood, it's good when you acknowledge what you've done. Absolutely. And the consequences of those. And I had a lot of respect for him for that, that he wasn't trying to just push it under the rug and say, let the past be the past. He said, no, I respect that. I just wanted to get to know you. And conversation ensued quite often. And what really turned my heart towards him, I was on assignment when he called me up in Maryland. I was on a 6-week assignment. And what turned my heart towards him, I was driving back to Maryland. I remember it was stormy outside. And a pastor was on a talk show. And he was sharing about how his father was very abusive and wasn't a part of his life. And how his father was he was in the hospital, and he was, of course, very, very ill. Mm-hmm. He didn't know his father was going to die. He just knew he was very ill. And his father had asked for his forgiveness. Okay. And he shared with us how he could not forgive him. And his father passed. Oh, wow. And he was so hurt because he said, I'm a pastor, and this is what I preach, and this is what I know is the right thing to do, is to forgive. And I've come to know that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation, because sometimes the damage is done, but you have to release it in your heart. Yes. So that you can be free to continue on in life and to do what God has called you to do. And it's so powerful to forgive, because often when we do forgive, especially when it's egregious, the person doesn't expect that forgiveness. It ministers and it witnesses to that person. I mean, none of us are perfect. Right. I've had people to forgive things that I've said to them, and it really warms my heart, and it just shows God's love. So when I hear that pastor talking about how he had the opportunity to forgive his dad and he didn't, I immediately, when I got back to Linthicum, Maryland, I picked up the phone and I said, hey, Dad. That's exactly what I said. And right away, I just said, I want you to know I forgive you. And even though I did not feel it, I was released to say it. So as you say it, I was speaking those things that were not into existence. Yeah. I didn't have this warm love for him because I didn't know him. But all I do know is that as an acquaintance, I appreciated his conversation and his honesty and acknowledging, what he had created and willing to take ownership for that.
Wow, that's powerful. When you're always able to acknowledge, just like I said earlier, look, I'm going to take the blame for this one. I'll take the ball
take the hit.
Take the hit. Yeah. When you're being real with yourself,
yes,
that's more powerful than anything, because a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people get it thrown back at them.
Right.
You know, so being a man and then being a man, because some men don't want to admit like that, you know.
And, you know, and also realizing that sometimes we think that that person is in a better place. For example, I'll be real and I'll be, you know, transparent. If my father was, I would say, living it up. When I say living it up, I don't mean materialistically, but just living it up. And I just felt like he just totally forgot about us. But he had his struggles. You know, he had his struggles. And we have to realize that that person needs that forgiveness, because he told me when I invited him, of course we were inviting him, his children, to come see us. And he said he was afraid. He admitted that he was afraid to come see us on our territory. And I said, why are you afraid to come to Norfolk? He said, because of what I've done. He hadn't forgiven himself.
Wow.
You know, I feel like you all are going to throw rocks at me. He felt like it was going to be a trap for him to receive his punishment for all that he had done. Although the conversations were going well with us for months, he had this fear. He overcame that fear. He came, but he was being honest about, okay, is this real? Are y'all really trying to see me? Or is this a setup to, you know, beat me up for all that I've done? And I would say his lowest point, which really ministered to my heart and helped me to understand the power of forgiveness, is when he shared with me that I asked him about salvation. And we hadn't met yet. So I was ministering to him, or we were ministering to each other, because his words, I said, Dad, you may not consider yourself, I'm not a theologian myself. I love the Lord, I'm in Christ, and I know Jesus Christ and him crucified, and I know he's my Savior. And I said, but you know, what you say to me is scriptural. Right. Even though you're just talking from your heart, the Lord is using you to minister to me. But he said he felt so bad about not being a part of our lives that he felt that if Jesus walked past him, if Jesus was coming his way, he would walk past him. Oh, wow. He would ignore him. And I just can't imagine being that low. And at that point, I asked him, would you like to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And he did. And that was over the phone.
Wow. Just imagine. I know he probably said, God, my daughter did this, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, many people prayed. My other sisters, they prayed for him. You know, they shared their praise. So it was a seed.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, God works the way he works, because as a man, you can let your pride get in the way.
Yes.
And, you know, it could be easily said that, well, I've moved on, you know, whatever, I really don't want to be, you know, a part of what's going on, so I'm just going to stay in my own little world, and you stay over there. We can communicate, but, you know, you're fine, I'm fine, don't bother me. But to set that pride aside to say, you know what, my daughters, you know, my family, they didn't see the bad in what I did. They knew it happened.
Yes.
But they were strong enough to move past it. And because they were strong enough to move past it, now it's on me to move past it, so we can be back as one again, so we can be at least whole. And what I have in me, I can release, and what they have in them, they can release and turn it over to God like it's supposed to be. And that's really what it boiled down to, was the release.
Right.
Of everyone.
Right.
Releasing that, you know, that feeling of abandonment or abandoning, and feeling like it was their fault. Well, maybe it was me. Now everybody starts with a clean slate.
Yes. You know, when we've been offended or hurt or abused, all we really want, well, I say for me, I can only speak for myself, but for most, you know, acknowledgement. I mean, to not even acknowledge my pain, to not even acknowledge the hurt, that's the first step, to acknowledge it. Because then you can get past that. You can heal and you can get past that.
Right.
And it helps you to know that the person, at least if not empathizes, sometimes they may sympathize with you with what you're going through.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy fix. I mean, just because you acknowledge it doesn't mean poof, you know, overnight it's like it's okay. It's like, well, thanks for acknowledging it, but you're still da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, so you have, there's this storming, norming, conforming that you go through.
It's pretty impressive in itself to, you know, put all that aside and come together as one and just say, we can get through this if we just, you know, especially to pray with him over the phone and not having animosity towards him, but still wanted to welcome him to Christ and say, you know, this is what's going to heal us.
Right.
We need this.
Right.
And if you're willing to accept it, we can move forward with the next step.
Right.
That's powerful.
And the Lord, you know, we're convicted, you know, by the Holy Spirit. I mean, we can't be out here being witnesses to the world, but can't be a witness in our own inner circle.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we just have to wait for God to release us to be effective witnesses, because we may have our own baggage, and we don't want someone else to stumble because of our ineffective walk. So we have to wait until we're empowered to really carry that out, because we don't want to be fake. We want to be genuine in our release of unforgiveness. So you just wait until God releases you, because some people feel like, well, because you're not connecting with me, you haven't forgiven me. And that's not always the case. I've forgiven you, but I just don't trust to release, because once that trust is broken, I mean, I don't know that you've really changed. Right. I have to allow God to show me, and I have to allow God to prepare me to transition.
And that's where that relationship with God comes in play, because of course you have to trust God enough to trust in what He's doing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I think for the folks out there listening, this is, you got to understand, this is powerful, because she's sharing a story where she reconnected with her father, and she put everything aside, and they came together under the belief of God. There's a lot of folks out there right now who feel like they're abandoned, or don't want to be, they feel like they're not worthy, or they can't be a part of something because of who they are. But just think, the belief was enough to do it over the phone.
Amen.
For him to say, you know what, I've been talking and I've been listening, and this is something different. I wasn't expecting this. You'd be surprised what you think you expect to what actually is once you put God in the mix.
That's right. And I like what you said. I wasn't expecting this, because if you recall, a friend of mine, a gentleman friend of mine, who had a powerful relationship with his father, said to me, "You need to find your dad." And my exact words to him were, "No, I don't need to find him, because I don't need him. All is well. I don't have any animosity towards him." But then I realized I did.
Yeah, you did.
I did. And I mean, just to be able to say the word, I had never used, now this is powerful, I had never used the word dad towards anyone else. I mean, I may use it in a sentence referring to someone else's dad. I had never called someone dad. Right. So it was just rolling off of my tongue. Wow. Like, I just couldn't get enough of saying dad. I couldn't get enough of his voice.
Like a kid in the candy
His
store.
voice was, his voice. He spoke very well, had a melodic voice. He could sing. He used to sing. But his voice meant the world. Just to hear him say, "Hi, Brina." Oh, my gosh. I mean, he had a deep, very soothing, calm voice. And I won't forget that voice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know what it reminds you of when you see all these stories, some stories you see of people reconnected with moms and dads and siblings later on in life. And we don't know that experience if we've never been there. We don't know the joy and the excitement of being reconnected to someone you haven't seen in years or decades.
You don't even know.
You don't even know.
Yes.
So I'm sitting here literally with chills, goosebumps on my arms, like, because it's almost like I could feel your excitement, the joy that you received when you connected with your dad.
Yes.
And at first it was just only over the phone at first.
Yes, only over the phone.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that my sister found him. I have to acknowledge that. In case you're listening, Kim, yes, you found him. And I'm so grateful for that. And, well, as far as the first meeting, he did come to see us. And that was, we had an opportunity to visit with him in his hotel room and, do an outing. He met my sister's daughter, which would be my niece and his granddaughter. And he met, his grandson. He met all of us. And my mom, bless her heart, she was so open to meeting him when he visited. I mean, she already knew him. He was, but just seeing him, in spite of it all, she was open to it. I mean, of course, Mom kept it real. Don't forget. Yeah. Don't forget in all of this that I was there. And so, she kept it quite real. But it was a wonderful experience. And then I got the opportunity to go see him in Kansas. He was living in Leavenworth. When I would mention Leavenworth, it was like, is he in jail? Is he in prison? Because that's all you think about for Leavenworth, and that's all that's there. No, I'm just teasing, but it's country, bales of hay. I was like, I cannot believe this. But when I got to Leavenworth, I had to get a rental car. And so my father said he would meet me because I caught the shuttle at the rental car place. I called to let the gentleman know, because he gave me the number. I don't know if he's there, but I'm on the way. He said, your father has been here 5 hours ahead of time.
Wow.
He is out in the car. I was like, you're kidding me? Out in the car waiting on you. And I can't remember. I probably journaled it somewhere. I actually went on Facebook and got some snippets. It's just amazing with Facebook because I would post some of this.
Yeah.
So to take me back to that time. But it was smooth. It was like I've known him all my life. I didn't have any uncomfortable feeling or anything. And when we got to his apartment, I guess, he hadn't had. Now, he does have another. I do have a brother.
Okay.
So he remarried after my mother, and he had a son, but he was living alone. And I remember I slept in the living room on the sofa. It was a nice big plush sofa, and he was in because he only had a one bedroom. Mm-hmm. And I remember him peeping out because he was like, I cannot believe I have a daughter. I saw him peeping out the door like, I can't believe she's in here. And I'm sure that was like, wow, I can't believe this.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just amazing altogether. I am just loving your story mm-hmm. and encouraged by it.
You getting choked up over there?
Yeah, because it's just that for years, even though I grew up with my dad, my dad was mean. He was just so mean. And I always say for no reason. My husband used to call him the warden.
Damn.
Yeah.
Corey would call him the warden, even though he didn't meet him till about 97. Mm-hmm. But from 97 on, and he worked with Corey. Corey worked with him for a while because my father does construction. He has his own business. He built homes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So he got to work with Corey. Corey got to work with him for a while. He's like, man, that dude there. I was like, you ain't got to tell me. And I was thinking to myself, how long they going to last,
Right,
So,
right.
But it just, I think my thing is because the fond memories and the relationship y'all built over the years. And I know, because I don't know all of it, but I saw the journey.
Right.
And just seeing the journey could just make anybody glow and give them hope. It's a matter of people coming together, people just willing to reach out.
Right.
Willing to reach out,
and
connect.
You're right. I do recall, and I'm fast forwarding a bit, but after his homegoing service, because he did pass away in February 2015, 2 ushers that were at my church said they were so inspired that they were going to reach out to their absentee father. One of the associates at the funeral home decided that she was going to reach out to her father, and one of my friends who I shared the journey with, who came to the wake and the homegoing service, mm-hmm. I saw where he reached out. I didn't even know he wasn't connected. Wow. He had a very large family. So what happened with my father is that he developed dementia. He had dementia. So I started becoming worrisome about his health because he would call me and be very forgetful, about where his money was. And I was antagonized because, I couldn't be in Kansas. I was torn. I was under duress because I couldn't be there to help him. I would share that with my mom. So when I paid trips, my father was not one with funds. So when he was homeless, he became homeless because he wasn't paying his bills, mainly because of the dementia. He had the money to do it, but he was just becoming reckless with his funds. And when he became homeless, so I didn't have a place to stay when I went there. So I would have to invest in the hotel, et cetera. But I was more so concerned, obviously, about his health. And what tore me apart was he was living in a car. And he had a girlfriend who told me that he decided to go out on his own. And I said, why are you doing this? He said, I'm a renegade. And I was like, oh, my God. You are 70-some years old talking about you're a renegade. I got this, Brina. He was a veteran. He was in the Air Force, and he was in the Navy. So between the two, he did 12 to 14 years. I can't recall. But it tore me apart to see him living in a car. Mm-hmm. But he knew goodness enough. He stayed with me in a hotel. And like I said, he wasn't used to having a daughter around or his children around when he would come to see us. So when we were in the room, even though he knew that was a good covering, he didn't feel comfortable. I didn't think anything of it because, of course, I'm fully clothed. Right, but he was like, I don't feel comfortable, Brina. That's what my family calls me. I don't feel comfortable, Brina. I was like, you don't feel comfortable? And he said, I don't feel comfortable because it was twin beds. Double beds. Right. I don't feel comfortable sleeping next to you. I'm like, but you're not sleeping next to me. You're in a queen bed. So what I did is I took the ironing board and I asked for an extra blanket, and I put a blanket over the ironing board, and I put my 2 big pieces of luggage on top of it. So when he was laying down, he couldn't see me. I said, "See, Dad, I've created a barrier." But that was during the time he had dementia, and he was living out of a car. And I really wanted to bring him home, but he did not want to leave Kansas. His mind was still, Kansas was very vivid, still in his mind. He always promised us that he was going to come to Virginia, get a house, live here, and die here. But he just couldn't get past Kansas. So I left. I had to leave, because time ran out. I had to go back to work. And I couldn't get any sleep. But the most beautiful part was when someone from the Leavenworth, Dwight D. Eisenhower, the VA, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Veterans Administration called me because they had my information from my visits there, and they told me that they found him in a shed. He called. Thank God he called them. They found him in his storage unit trying to make sleep there.
Wow.
And he went with them. And I cannot praise the Dwight D. Eisenhower Medical Center enough because they truly take care of their veterans. I mean, they put him in this, it's a program called Safe Haven. Someone started as a nonprofit. I don't know how many, they had three houses. I think it's 2 to 3 houses. And about maybe 10 to 12 veterans lived in each house, and they had their own room. They each all got full meals for free. They could stay there for 6 months. It was like transitional housing.
Right.
And if they wanted to extend it, they could, and they extended it for my father. But we eventually got him here, is what I'm saying, because he forgot about Kansas. I don't thank God for dementia, but because of dementia, that's how we got him here, because he forgot his past.
Freedom enough just
exactly.
To
He forgot his past, and God allowed him to move forward here, and we got him into a nursing home.
Wow, that's awesome. What a journey, though. You
Yeah.
know? What a journey.
That's what happens when you got a renegade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you want to know what kind of help I had, in getting him here. Well, when I went to Kansas, I didn't know anyone, as I stated. So I worked for the Postal Service, and one of the postmasters I befriended, because I always have a friend since I work for the Postal Service. I'm always calling. I ask them, hey, I'm coming to your area. Can you tell me? And they're so friendly.
That's good.
But she decided to help me on her birthday to pack up his things. And we flew back here to Virginia. And I stepped out on faith because he didn't have a room. Now, he had to stay in a nursing home because the dementia was so severe that if I was at work, he would probably wander out or let people in my house. His judgment was not well. So although he was in a nursing home, I visited him, and my sister did too. I visited him several times throughout the day. Trust me, they knew me. They knew me and they knew us. So it was all good.
All right. Corey, you had a question?
Well, I was just listening to the journey because it is a fulfilled journey. A lot of things going on, and the orchestration behind everything happening is what really. It was a lot, but it was also. It seemed to be a lot of transition. A little bit smoother than what you would normally expect.
Yes.
Because of course the way things laid out. Now, I understand. You say you befriended the postmaster. How did you use a lot of leave to get, because of course you're talking about traveling a lot.
Exactly. No, I couldn't afford to use a lot of leave at that time. I hadn't done any sick leave dependent care. I didn't know the severity of his illness when I went out. So I didn't have, FMLA approved or anything. But I was there for 6 days. And I befriended her. I just basically told her what was going on. She didn't have to get that intimately involved, but she did, and we were able to get him here. And I had never filed for Medicaid for anyone before, because I was always looking. My parents, my mother always took care of the homegoings. Any uncle, aunt passed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're now the senior citizens, even though I'm far from it. But I mean, we're now the senior citizens who are doing this. And the process was so smooth. I'm really grateful to Golden Living.
Okay.
He was in Golden Living in Kansas, and they had a Golden Living here 10 minutes from my house. Oh, wow. And I called them and said, I don't know if I can do this because you're not approved yet. He's not approved for Medicaid. He can't live with me because I already see that he's wayward. He'll wander and go out, especially with sundowning. And she said, just come. She said, just come. We've got you. Oh, wow. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait, you don't understand. He's coming from Kansas. Right. There's no going back. Right. I can't take off. She said, just come. We've got a bed for you already. It was unbelievable. he was approved without a problem, and he was there. It was just and we even flew. I mean, I'm not materialistic at all, but we flew first class.
Yeah.
I mean, I had already paid for the tickets for economy, and I explained to her about my dad having a problem with his legs and needing to extend his legs. And the representative on the phone said, you know it's only going to cost you $50 more for both of you. Now, when have you ever seen that, to fly first class? And they just, and this is days before the flight. And she said, we just so happened to have the very first row open, which was the extended leg room. I could not believe it. We were in the first seats for first class, and it was wonderful. And
I would have did that too.
Yeah, he loves wearing his military clothing, items. So he had on his military hat, and all the people walking by, the guys, all the veterans, ladies too, congratulations. Oh no, thank you for your service, what they were saying. Thank you for your service. It was a wonderful trip. Family met us at the airport. It was great.
Now, you said something important. You said, before we even got to, or as I'm making the phone call, she said, don't worry, I got you.
She did. And I wish I could recall her name, but that's not important. She's no longer at that facility, but that's what she said. And she meant it. When I got there, I said, you don't understand. I don't have another option. I have to, because I had to bring him then while he was saying yes.
Right.
Because, he could be resistant and decide not to come.
Isn't it amazing when God had the plan already mapped out for you?
Yes.
I mean, it was like it meant to happen.
And
All of
10
this
minutes
meant
from
to
my
happen.
house and 10 minutes from my job. So very convenient.
But to have one there and one here,
Right.
Oh, yes.
right by where your home is, that right there is a plan in itself. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in things
It was
being
God.
ordered,
Right.
the steps being in place, and whether you take the path right then and there or you take it a little bit later. The difference is just the amount of time and the things you go through in your journey to get to that. So when it was time for her to go, she left. Everything was taken care of. I got you. She got there.
Unbelievable.
And everything was smooth. Now, it had to be like that because, of course, any other delay may have caused a little bit more turmoil. A couple of days later could have been the thing of sitting in, economy and now dealing with dad not being.
I wanted him
right.
comfortable.
Right.
Exactly.
Now he's like,
he had
wait a minute,
leg
something ain't right.
issues. Yeah.
So, these are the things that I think people really miss when it comes to understanding the Word of God and understanding God in Jesus dying for you, is the fact that He's got you.
Yes. Yes.
Regardless of the situation, not knowing doesn't stop you from believing, should not stop you from believing. So you have all these things going on, the timing, the communication, the connection, everything, and it all stems from I got you.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because just yesterday or the day before, I posted on Facebook the scripture, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. And then I said, translation, He's got you.
He's got you.
He's got you.
I think I saw that.
I don't think people, man, that's something. I got you. Don't worry about anything. Nothing in order, nothing in place, nothing done yet, but I got you.
Just a step out on faith. And I have to acknowledge so many friends, church members that prayed, and including us, his children. So many people prayed that we would be able to get him here, prayed for his safety, who knew he was homeless. So there were so many people involved. He ended up getting baptized at my church.
Wow.
It was beautiful and powerful. And then that experience helped me where I am today. My sister is the primary caregiver for my parents, my mother and my stepfather. And, they both have long-term issues, so it's going to be with them, but God has been keeping them. And my sister has recently experienced a health issue herself, so I and my other sister are stepping up to the plate, which brings me where I am now because I actually work in D.C. So my employer has been gracious enough to work with me, and I'm so grateful. It's his timing.
Yeah.
His timing is everything because prior to things being as they are, it probably would have been a struggle for me to prove the point, but there's no issue now. Whereas they're just like, take the time that you need. I'm able to work from here, so it's a blessing if need be. Yeah.
And it gives you the confidence because you know that taking the time, you're not afraid that something's going to change while you're
right.
out. That's the peace that God gives.
That's
you.
it.
Yeah.
He gave you peace, and
That's
knowing
it.
that you could still take the time you need, but not worry.
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention that because my mom, she would say, well, you need to go back to work. And I mean, which, I've been working for 34 years. I love working, but I had to put her mind at ease to let her know that all is well, without going into any details, all is well. So I'm grateful for my employer for having the flexibility to work with me. And of course, I'm welcome back, whenever I'm ready to go back to that location.
I know, right? Just sit here. Yeah. You don't hear stories like this all the time, and it's just so amazing. And I'm just really like overwhelmed today. I'm getting goosebumps again. It's just a love story, and I love that of a parent and a daughter. Even in the adult age.
And listen, for any of y'all out there listening who are producers or movie producers or movie plays, this young lady here is Sabrina Brown. Sabrina Brown.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Somebody make her life a movie, because that right there, that's a story that
It really is.
Listen, that's powerful.
And there's
Somebody call
so
her-
many players in that story, though.
Get up
So
on here
many players and
call.
prayers.
Man, I tell you,
Yeah.
you listen. There's inspirational movies. That right there is inspirational.
Yes, it is.
Well,
There are
Praise
movies
God.
that
Yes, it
there are
is.
movies that touch you, and there are movies that touch
Touch you, right.
And I mean, I'm not an emotional, sentimental kind of guy.
I am.
But I'm that was pretty touching. I
Yeah.
mean, to know that, to see the things that are taking place, and to know that, not even being in your life, but watching just as you talk, the things as they transition and transpire in your life. That's inspirational right there. Somebody call, email, see something, because this needs to be made into a movie or a made-for-TV series or something, because this is powerful.
And you think you know someone, even though I don't know how many years I knew my dad before he passed, 12, 15, I can't even recall, maybe 20. I don't have the exact date committed to memory, but I do have it in my journal. But you do find out about people at their homegoing service.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you know someone, you do know them, but when other people speak, and so when I requested letters, I notified the VA in Leavenworth that he had passed, and I had no idea because, mind you, over these years, Dad was always telling me, I have to go to work. We would be on the phone, Breen, I'm getting ready to get up, I'm going to work, or, I'll call you after I get off work, because he may be on a break, I have to go to work. So I thought he was supplementing his very limited pension. But when I got the letter from his care, I forget their names, but they aftercare. She was a director of aftercare. He went through some, alcoholism issues and things like that, and he got himself together. But when I got a letter from the director of aftercare, and she expressed in her letter their appreciation for him volunteering, he wasn't getting paid.
What?
He was driving those veterans for over 15 years.
Wow.
Showing up every morning, picking them up. He would pick up and transport them from the airport or wherever they needed to go. I'm like, wait a minute. I had to call her. I said, Vicki, he was volunteering? She said he was volunteering. Unbelievable.
Movie.
A man without much, but willing to give to help others. And that's what we're all called to do. So, we're all called to give. And we all do serve. We may not parade it because it's not to be paraded.
Exactly.
But we ought to serve and we ought to give.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Wow, what a story. They always say you never know what people go through.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that much, but for some reason, I just knew you had an amazing story and your journey just by me watching it. I just always felt something because I didn't know all of that, but just to see you regularly just visiting and going there and being there and taking time for your job. And I know you had to take time from your job to get there.
And it's good. And I'm glad that I didn't abuse that so that I
Right.
could have somebody to take time from my job. But, with every story, there are different characters. So my sisters, they have, their stories to share as well, especially with caring for, and I can't emphasize that enough, my mom
I was gonna ask
and my
you.
stepfather, with
Yeah,
me
yeah.
not being able to be there and just doing an outstanding job. I mean, outstanding. My stepfather, they thought he was going to pass away, but God.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
I'm just loving this. So, God, y'all, it's 2:53. I'm like, I'm not ready to hang up yet. Sabrina, leave a word of inspiration. Motivate our listeners right now.
Well, I want to share, as you all have mentioned, that we never know what people are going through. Everyone has a story. And when we're going through, like I'm currently still going through a few things, when we're going through our struggles, as you stated earlier, share them.
Yeah.
When God releases you, some things are so painful that you're not ready to share them, and I understand that. But you do have someone that can share that you can share with, because the more you talk about it with that confidant, the stronger you will become to share your story with others. Because the word says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, the blood came first, and by the word of our testimony. Mm-hmm. So although I may not have the exact trial of others, I can get strength from that trial, because at the end of the day, faith, you trusted in God, mm-hmm. and you won. Mm-hmm. And winning doesn't always mean getting the end result that we want. Right. It means we're still here, yes. We're standing. The trial did not break us, yep. Did not have us backslide or turn away from Christ. Hallelujah. Amen. Because some days you're like, oh my God, why me? Yeah. So share your trials, yes. because it will help people to overcome. And honestly, people will feel more comfortable relating to you. It's unfortunate that sometimes if we think an individual has everything going on, we may, you may have some animosity towards that person or be envious or whatever. But as soon as you found out they had a trial, then it's like, oh, I can embrace you. But it shouldn't be that way. Yeah. It shouldn't be that way, because we all go through trials. And just because you haven't shared your trial with me, mm-hmm. doesn't mean you haven't gone through something. Amen. So we're to pray, and we're to pray for blessings for everyone, because I currently have a trial that I'm going through, but I know that when God releases me, mm-hmm. I will be obedient, amen. To what he's calling me to do. I'm just trying to deal with me right now. Right. I'm just trying to nurse me, yes. so that I don't have to incur wounds that I really don't want to handle right now.
Yeah. Well, it's very important to make sure we care for self as well, because
absolutely.
We could give so much to others. We give so much of ourselves. Like now you're even working with your mom now. So yes. you give so much of yourself. So it's very important to step back, recoup, recharge, and go back.
Right.
But you have to fill back up.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do, because my sisters have done so much, and, they need a break, yeah. basically. And I shared with one of them, hey, I got you. I got you for right now, yeah. I got you, but I do know that I do have to take care of myself. So I'm trying to stay on that workout regimen. I wasn't for a couple of months. My manager asked me, she said, are you, keeping up your regimen? And I said, no, not right now. She's like, no, you have to do that. And so I vow to commit to taking care of myself so that I can be healthier and wealthier, to not just help my mom, but to continue to serve yes. in the church, and to continue to pray for myself that I will be all that God has called me to be. So that's my word of encouragement. Amen. That you acknowledge where you are, that you share it, and there's no trial or struggle that we're going through that someone else hasn't gone through. Amen. But there has to be a point of trust. We're not to openly share with, as far as discernment, with those who can't handle.
Amen.
Can't handle, because everybody's not perfect. And some people will abuse that and just ask God for discernment when it's that sensitive. But when you released it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you've released it to God, it doesn't matter what others say. And that's when you know you're truly over it.
Yes, yes.
And we want to get over it.
Well, there you go, you all. What an amazing story. I'm with Corey. That's a story in his own.
To God be the glory.
What you call it? What they call those things? I forget what you call it. But anyway, that need to be told. Yeah. That need to be shared, because it can motivate so many more that's probably out there thinking, gosh, should I connect to my mom? Should I connect to my dad, or reconnect with my siblings? Because people hurt you. People do things. Once you forgive, the rest is history.
Yes.
But you know what? Thank God, y'all. We thank you all for listening to us. We thank Sabrina for being our guest today. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'm glad you came on, because we got to hear more.
It's been a couple years. We've been trying to do this, and we finally did it. So,
awesome.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got
it's an
more
honor.
to share. We have to bring you back later on. We're going to continue to follow you
on
your journey. I know I am, because I've been doing it. So, well, thank you all. Remember the 4th Annual Caregivers Recognition Black Tie Gala in Hampton, Virginia on November the 4th. come join us. Submit a name for a veteran because it's Veterans Day as well, and we want to always make sure we say that it's Veterans Day, and we want to recognize and honor the veterans, their
Yes.
caregivers, the wounded warriors, their caregivers. Submit their names. Remember, they are free on Kelly's Choice. We don't believe in nominations for caregivers. So that's November the 11th in Hampton, Virginia. Go to our website, www.kellyschoiceinc.org. Thank you again. We be back next week, same time, same channel, same station.
God bless you,
And remember,
everyone.
yes, to smile for someone every day. You never know who you may bless. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Kelly's Choice. Brought to you by Kelly's Choice. Join us next Friday at 2 p.m. to learn more about the caregivers and the different